MegaPodTastic.
Good morning, MegaPodlings. It's Crazy Joe back at the old Regal. I don't come here that often, but today the timing just worked out. We're going to check out Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho. Let's go check this thing out. Here we are, back on the grid from Tron. We are headed to Theater 15. There's the 4DX, which is basically like a theme park ride. There's the Screen X, which surrounds the screen. I did a video on that. Something's going on in the men's room. And there we go, Theater 15.
Progressive can't protect you from becoming your parents, but we can protect your home and auto when you bundle with us.
I should have left home earlier.
For people living with HIV, keep being you and ask your doctor about Victartin.
And so far,
One pill,
we're the only ones here.
treatment used for HIV.
Still the only one here, all the way in the back. My favorite seats. I just got out of Last Night in Soho, and I'm noticing they're offering Regal Unlimited for 90 days for free, or a trial. Interesting. Maybe I will give that a try. I'll have to look into that. If that's truly just a no obligation 90-day trial, I may give it a shot. I've already got the A-list, but if there's no risk, why not have both for at least 90 days? Last Night in Soho, the latest film by Edgar Wright. I am a big fan of Edgar Wright. He, of course, has given us Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, The End of the World, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and Baby Driver. Of those films, the only one I personally don't really care for is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I mean, it's okay. It's not like it's garbage, but it's a movie I just don't really connect with. Saw it twice in its original release in the theaters, and have had no desire to watch it since. But the other movies, fantastic. I'm a big fan of what Edgar Wright usually gives us. And let's be honest, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World was based on a graphic novel. It wasn't something that came from Edgar Wright's imagination himself, so can we really call that an Edgar Wright movie? I mean, it was Edgar Wright adapting something. It's like if you like Pulp Fiction and you like Reservoir Dogs and you like The Hateful Eight, but you don't really care for Jackie Brown. Well, Jackie Brown is Quentin Tarantino adapting the work of Elmore Leonard. It's not really from Quentin Tarantino's mind himself. So does that even really count as Tarantino? I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. You be the judge. But in any event, from the first trailer, I was all in on Last Night in Soho because A, I'm an Edgar Wright fan, and B, the trailer just looked fantastic. This is a trailer that when I first saw it, I was very intrigued. I wanted to know what was going on in this trailer. It's obviously very mysterious, and there's this juxtaposition between the present and the 60s and two different characters, and the trailer was fantastic. I remember I showed it to my wife, and she didn't care for it because she's not a fan of horror films, and she says, why would you show me this horror trailer? And at the time I said, that's interesting because I watched that trailer, and to me, I didn't think horror. Like, that didn't come across as a horror to me. It kind of came across as a mystery, timey, wimey, wibbly wobbly, what's going on here kind of film. But I didn't watch that and see horror. And in the time since, I have heard more and more people call it horror. It certainly came out like a week before Halloween. I don't know if the studio is trying to push it as horror. And there are definitely elements of the horror genre in the film, but still, I wouldn't classify this as horror. It's more like a supernatural thriller, supernatural whodunit, if you will. And I got to tell you, now having seen the film, I'm not really sure how to react to it. This is definitely at least a 3-star movie for me. And a 3-star, that's a good review. That is a good review, 3 stars. 3 out of 5 stars, solid. That's a thumbs up, a high five. I can't give a thumbs up. That is no thumbs up. That is trademark of Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert. Chaz Ebert and Gene Siskel's wife own the trademark on that. So no thumbs up. I don't want to have to pay a royalty on that. So strike that thumbs up from the record. But definitely a high five. I like this movie. But do I go from 3 stars to 4 stars, 3 stars to 5 stars? That's where I'm not sure. Because this movie, it's solid, really excellent for about 90 minutes. Then we get to the wrap-up where we sort of resolve the mystery and find out what's going on. Now, I'm not going to tell you, don't worry if you're worried about spoilers, I am not going to tell you how this resolves. You don't have a thing to worry about. You're not going to hear any spoilers from me. But I will tell you, that's where the film kind of sort of unravels for me, because I'm not sure that I buy the resolution. The resolution is a resolution. You do get a resolution, but is it a great resolution? Is it an okay resolution? I'm not sure, and I don't think I'm going to know until I watch this movie a couple more times. I think this movie, I need to live with this film a little bit before I know how I feel about it. A good example for this is Hancock. The movie Hancock, starring Will Smith. It's a movie that I really, really like. But when I first saw that movie, there's a plot twist halfway through the film that really kind of took me out of the film. And I'm like, oh, I don't like that plot twist. And I still don't really care for the plot twist, but the difference is now when I watch that film in rewatches, I know the plot twist is coming. So it's not as jarring. In repeat viewings, that plot twist is not as like out of left field and is not as jarring because I know it's there. And as a result, the film plays better in the repeat viewings. And that might happen with Last Night in Soho. My issue was I don't know if I buy the resolution. But if I watch it in a repeat viewing, knowing what that resolution is going to be, it may not bother me as much. And I'm really not going to know that until I see the film for a second time. So I guess what I'm saying is this movie gets a high five from me. I just don't know how high that high five is. Is this a 3-star high five? Is this a 4-star high five? Is this a 5-star high five? That's the part I'm not sure on, but it's definitely a high five, and it's definitely a minimum of 3 stars. I enjoyed this film. I will watch it again. I will own this movie on 4K when it comes out on 4K. And it's another solid entry for Edgar Wright. Where does it fall on his pantheon of films? Well, your mileage may vary. I think his best movie is Baby Driver. I think a lot of people think his best movie is Shaun of the Dead, so I'm probably in the minority by saying Baby Driver. Most people are like, you crazy Joe, Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead's his best movie. I think that's the popular opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the popular opinion. But I like Baby Driver better, and I would say this is not as good as Baby Driver. Is it as good as Shaun of the Dead? Yes and no. Technically, it's probably a better made film. You know, he's a more experienced director. There's more going on here. Shaun of the Dead's a little more straightforward. This is more of a mystery, and there's the flashbacks to the past and the present, and the past and the present. There's a lot of artistry at work here. This is probably a better made film, but is it a better film? Maybe not. Well, it's pointless for me to try to tell you because your mileage is going to vary on this. You may think Shaun of the Dead is his best movie, in which case we're already off base because I think it's Baby Driver. But the bottom line is this is a good movie. And I say check out Last Night in Soho if you get a chance. The plot is this young girl is enamored with the 60s. She would love to be a fashion designer in the 60s in London. Well, she goes to London. She gets a job or a scholarship at a fashion school. So she's now going to school doing fashion in London, but she's very enamored with the 60s, and she clashes with her millennial roommates that are more of the modern day and don't share her 1960s sensibilities. So she moves out, gets a room from Diana Rigg. Diana Rigg, who I think most people remember Diana Rigg. They say, Diana Rigg, The Avengers, Emma Peel. Of course, being a child of the 80s, to me, Diana Rigg is always going to be Lady Holiday from The Great Muppet Caper. So I think it's a generational thing. You may remember her as Emma Peel, but if you're of my generation, Lady Holiday, the fashion queen of London. And as soon as our main character, whose name is Ellie, moves into this loft at Diana Rigg's place, she starts having visions of a young girl coming up in the 60s as an actress, an aspiring actress, an aspiring singer. And the young girl in her visions is played by Anna Taylor-Joy. And she gets taken in by Doctor Who's Matt Smith, who kind of guides her career, takes her, it says, I can get you jobs, I can get you a job as a singer, I can put you on the stage. And at first, our character Ellie, again, I'm not going to give you any spoilers here, our character Ellie is very, very enamored with these visions she's having, these dreams, and it's almost like a wish fulfillment, and she's able to go to sleep and basically live her dreams through what she's seeing happen to Anna Taylor-Joy. But somewhere things start to take a more sinister turn, and that's where I'm going to leave it off, and I'm not going to tell you any more after that. But the mystery sort of becomes, what is happening here? Are these visions real? Did these visions actually happen? What is the relationship between Anna Taylor-Joy's character and Ellie? And how does it all fit together? And eventually it does fit together, and that's the part where, to me, the plot kind of unravels a little bit, and I'm not entirely sure that the resolution works. But definitely worth watching. So Last Night in Soho gets a a high five from me. Oh, that was a slip up there. That was a slip up. It gets a high five from me and a recommendation. We'll have to revisit this movie and decide how high or low my rating goes on this one. Okay, everybody, keep wearing those pajamas.
Keep wearing those pajamas with the plastic feet. Keep wearing those pajamas. Tell everyone you meet. Keep wearing those pajamas with the back door flap. Keep wearing those pajamas. Don't open, it's a trap. Oh no, it's a trap. Some people call them PJs, some people call them jammies. They can come embroidered with big money and no whammies. They can have 100 tiny commander pajamas, but no matter how they look, just keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep wearing those pajamas. I know we're having fun. Keep wearing those pajamas. And now the song is done.